I'm holding court, it's standing trial. Why ain't I see you round back when I was down?
Part two of the Off the Cuff Radio interview with Big Court is now underway. We apologize for everybody that's doing it like this because you know how Blog Talk is. Cut me the check, Blog Talk, but get it together, damn it. But anyways, we're back at it with part two with Big Court, and he's here to talk to us about his journey in the music industry, with how he met Master P, getting mentored by Ice-T, and what he learned about being involved with P and navigating through that system, man. So tell us about how you met Master P in the first place.
We started out, I was a part of a group called CCG, right? It was me and my partner Cisco. We were a duo out of Kansas City, Missouri. And so, this is back in the 90s. So, there's really no industry, obviously, in Kansas City, Missouri, so back then, for those that may be listening, and that's this is pre-social media. So you had to get on back then. Like, you either had to have somebody that had some money to put up for you, or you had to get a record deal. You know what I'm saying? So I came up with an idea, man. I never aspired to be local. I was chasing people I was seeing in the magazines and on TV. I was like, no, I want that. So we were doing our demos in the house, and I was like, well, man, let me try to send these tapes off to record labels, So what I would do with my tapes and CDs, I would get the addresses and the phone numbers off the back of the albums. And at first I started sending them to majors. I was sending them to Jive and Epic and all of that. And so the packages were coming back, like, stamped with, we don't accept unsolicited material. So I'm like, I didn't know what the hell that meant. You know what I mean? So I was like, well, damn, maybe I need to go after, smaller, labels. I didn't have the language independent. Like, I didn't even know that. I didn't have that verbiage at the time, but I knew that, Black Market, Rap a Lot, No Limit, In a Minute, Dog Day, a lot of these record labels in the Bay, they just seem more accessible. You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, let me send it to them. So I would send, tapes to all of these people, and if they had voicemails or phone numbers, I would call constantly and leave messages, just persistent, And so 95, no, was it 94? No, I think it was the end of 94, I believe. Early 95, we were talking with Ruthless, you know what I mean? And it was a lady named Cassandra Ware. She was like, I forgot her position at Ruthless Records, but I used to call so much to where we got familiar with each other, you know what I mean? And so I was trying to get with Easy. Bone had just came out, blew up. We had a similar style. So, we 17, 18 years old. We like, oh shit, well, we should fit right in. We different, but then kind of the same, you know what I mean? And it's two of us, so they can have another version, you know what I mean? So I was talking with Ruthless, and I remember this might have been about January, maybe February. And I remember Cassandra was like, yeah, Eric finally heard, he got y'all tape, so, I'll let you know, whatever. So I'm super excited. So naturally, Easy dies a month or two later. I think March, she passed away. And so all communication stopped, and we like, damn. So it was back to the drawing board. And so then the funny thing about P is I never even really knew about Master P. The first time I heard about P was my barber. Shout out to Romeo Ronell. He used to bring, like independent artists and shit. Like, he used to bring E40 and the Click and all them down in the early 90s when they was like just coming up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, yeah. So he was cutting my hair, and, I was probably about 14, 15, 16 maybe. And he was like, yeah, I'm bringing Master P. And I never heard of him, never even cared, And so it wasn't until when we was doing the demos, we had a partner named Dang Nitty. And Dang Nitty was a big Master P fan, but again, I never heard his music. And so people, when they would hear our demos, they would be like, that dude Dang Nitty sound like Master P. And we'd be like, who the fuck is this Master P dude? So then finally I listened to Ghetto's Trying to Kill Me, and I was like, damn, this nigga Dang sounds just like this dude. So that's how he got on my radar. And so at that time, I think 99 Ways to Die had came out.
Yeah.
So when 99 Ways to Die came out, that's where I got the address to the No Limit Records up in Oakland. No, it was in San Pete. No, it was in
Richmond.
No, he was in Oakland. He was in
Okay, gotcha.
He was in the office was in I'm looking right at it. It's not Pleasanton, but it was one of them San Rafael or something like that. It was in one of them little places up there in the Bay. So I sent about 3 or 4 tapes. He had a voicemail. I filled that bitch up. I call it every day and fill it up. And so long story short, man, he called, and he was just like, man, I got y'all tape. Like, I'm fucking with it. And he was like, man, I'm doing a compilation called Down South Hustlers. And, if y'all want to fuck with it, y'all can get on it. And again, at that time, he's like, man, we got UGK, 8-Ball, MJG. So, them dudes is like superstars to us, especially at that time. So I'm like, hell yeah. So about a month later, I say about 2 months later, this back in the day before social, internet, he sent Southwest tickets to my house and we went out to the Bay. And the trip about it, though, people used to trip because the fact that he used to call me, and again, as I got to know him, I understood what he was doing, but like P would just randomly call me, and we would talk for hours, you know what I'm saying? But this is him trying to figure out where we at with it and what we got going on and where my head is, you know what I'm saying? And so people would trip like, man, that nigga P be calling your house. I'd be like, yeah, bro, he'll just call me. You know what I mean? We'll just talk. But that proved to be somewhat of an issue. And the issue came where we went to the Bay. He flew us out there. All was cool. You got to remember, I've been talking to this dude for 2 months. Him and my partner never talked. So when we show up, me and him is like old friends. They like strangers. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So now at the time we had a manager that was from New Jersey. And he was a little older than us. I mean, he ain't know shit, but he knew more than us in terms of the business. You know what I'm saying? So, it got a little funky in terms of the dynamics because, P and my partner didn't get along. The manager didn't like P. P didn't like the manager, but me and P was like best friends. You know what I'm saying? And so I didn't like the manager. And then my partner and the manager, they was buddy. It was just real fucked up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we end up recording the album. We went to K-Lou's studio. We ended up recording the album called 100% Game. You can see it on the inside of the Down South Hustlers. We did the song R.I.P. We did that, I believe, if I remember correctly, at K-Lou's studio. And ironically, I just had K-Lou on my podcast. And he didn't remember. He was like, nah, I don't remember that. And I was like, nah, we came, but Moby Dick and Beats by the Pound, they ran the session. And I remember K-Lou leaving, he was like, oh, yeah, I used to do that with them. You know what I mean? I said, yeah, I was young. I was like 17, you know what I'm saying? But so, yeah, man, that's how the relationship started with Pete. And, that was a very pivotal moment because I literally watched his rise to stardom because I remember hearing Ice Cream Man instrumental. I remember hearing About It when it wasn't even mixed. And I can remember hearing it. And he was like, and I told him it was some bullshit. I told him when I heard it, I was like, man, it's some bullshit. And he was like, man, I'm going to have the whole world saying About It. I was like, all right, because, my ear was calibrated to that Bay Area West Coast sound. And About It is a bounce record. And see, I had never really been exposed to that gritty bounce type of, and the lingo of New Orleans, you know what I'm saying? Like that shit was just foreign to me. And then also you got to figure this is 95, 96, it was all about kind of, skills, you know what I mean? Like niggas was still kind of rappers, everybody trying to have the best lyrics, the best metaphors, even if you on some gangster shit, your delivery was, it was supposed to be. And so when I heard it was so rough, it was just so, he wasn't trying to be the best rapper. He wasn't trying to, you know what I mean? And so it was foreign to my ear. But I remember when we got back to Kansas City, that shit blew up. That's all we heard in every car, because the first TRU had came out.
True. That was
true. Yep.
It's crazy court because and what you said is on point because as we talked in the first show, in part 1, 95 is considered one of the seminal golden eras, 94, 95, because you're looking, and even taking it to 93, because when you look at 93 to 95, look at all the albums that came out. You had Wu-Tang in November 93. You had Big, I believe, in September 94. You had OC. Shout out to him. We had him on the show. I think OC dropped in summer of 94. Illmatic came out in April 94. Mobb Deep's debut came out in April 95. Raekwon's Cuban Links drops August 95. I mean, this is just, it's like the Lakers, Bulls, and Celtics dynasty and the Warriors dynasty all rolled up into one when you look at all the championship records that came out. When you think about that time with Master P, to give our listeners context of it, because No Limit Records has started in Richmond, California, the record store, where he had it set in the bay, so he does have a legit shout out to St. Charles as well.
Yep, shout out to St. Charles. Yep.
Who would give all those guys a game,
And shout out to JT, the bigger figure. He was instrumental in a lot of that. He don't get enough credit.
Absolutely. And when you think about it, and I'm segueing into this, I'm going somewhere with it because I didn't find out about, now No Limit, mind y'all, had been around since 1990. So I did not know about No Limit until 1995, which is why video shows are important, because the first time I saw them was on Rap City 1995, and they had everybody there. C-Murder, Mia X, I don't think Mystical has signed just yet, but still everybody was there. And, it was just a big-ass family reunion.
I think my first intro to No Limit was when I seen on the Rhyme and Reason movie when they had Stay Heaven for a Gangster. Gangster. I was like, that beat alone, I was like, that beat tough as fuck, man. And then the way he was rapping, is there heaven for a gangster? And I was like, okay, shit tough.
Yeah.
I always tell people that P found himself because, P went through his periods of trying to find his voice. He emulated different people. He went through his E40 phase. He went through a Scarface phase. He went through, but again, once you know his mind and know how he works, P is a hustler. He never set out to be the best rapper, the best lyricist. What it was for him was supply and demand. So he saw what the masses wanted and what they gravitated toward, and he simply just said, I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. I'm going to give you my version of what that is, So if you go back and you listen, and, when Scarface came with, Seen a Man Cry, and he's doing that, I never seen a man cry. He's got that cadence.
Yeah.
P was doing the same thing. He was using that same type of cadence, even with when 40, when he was up in the Bay, and that was just him trying to find his voice, So I think around about the time of I think Ice Cream Man going into The Last Don, he had found his voice. It was almost like a bunch of failed, I shouldn't say failed, but a culmination.
Experimentation.
A bunch of a culmination of all of these, experimentations where he stumbled and found himself, But and then I'll be the first to tell you, P doesn't get enough credit for, he's really the freestyle king. When I tell you that he has, I don't think he's ever written a rap. I've never witnessed him write a rap.
Yeah,
all those records.
No,
I'm gonna tell you what his process is.
Okay.
His process is he'll go in and he'll mumble. He'll go in and kind of mumble, and that's his reference track of just how the cadence and where he's gonna place the words. And then he literally just says what comes to his heart, what comes to his mind, and he'll usually punch in. He'll do maybe 2 lines, and then let me hear it, and he'll build on that, then maybe do 4. And he just gets there, he'll mumble, and then he'll fill in the words once he got the cadence. It's all freestyle. He freestyle everything.
Yeah, I remember because About It, when I first heard it, it was hard for me to catch. For those that don't know the backstory behind the beat, KLC, the drum major who did it, he was working on that track and he couldn't get the shit right for nothing. And his daughter ended up messing with the drum machine.
Right.
And then that's how it ended up turning into what it did, because he was like, oh shit, this is exactly how the sequence I was looking for.
Right.
And of course, when I first heard it, it was different because you got to think about it at this time, y'all. The East Coast and the West Coast, and even a little bit of the Bay, because E40 had kind of found his way in. That's where it was. So New Orleans hadn't quite made their presence known.
Exactly.
And you got to remember, this is on a national level.
On a national level,
They were not the first. He was not the first New Orleans rapper. You could talk
No.
Cash
I mean, you had Bust Down. You had a few people. UNLV, exactly. You know what I'm saying? But those were regional hits that they had, like Drag 'Em in the River and Nasty Bitch with Bust Down. But so that's what I'm saying. Like that bounce sound, I didn't even know that's what it was called, right? I had just never even heard it. And so being that, About It sounded so just left field to me, you know. Now, of course, like everybody else, I learned to love it, you know, but initially when I heard it and it wasn't even mixed, I was like, oh, hell no, you know, this is trash. And I remember telling him that, like laughing, kind of like, oh my God, nigga, this is boo-boo, you know what I mean? And he just laughed like, okay, watch. But he understood, it's so much. What P had was foresight. You know, he understood. And then there's a couple other things that happened too. You know, what's for you is for you. What God has for you is for you. But when you look at it, think about it, the timing of it. Easy died. You know what I'm saying? Tupac died. Biggie died. You know, there was this whole, and if you remember, it was a time where the gangster shit was kind of sour for everybody. Puffy had, brought in the jiggy shit, you know what I'm saying? So it was, gangster shit it put a bad taste in people's mouth because motherfuckers was dead, but it was like a hole left open, and that nigga just came just from nowhere, just with this about it, and it was refreshing. And what he added was, and he knew this, he added that bounce and it gave it that rhythm where people could move to it. It was energy to it, because prior to that, the gangster records, especially West Coast, when you think about MC8, you think about, those records are really just trunk music. It was music that you just bob your head to, that, you know what I mean, was for the speakers, you know what I'm saying? But it really wasn't nothing someone could move to in that energy. So he managed to fuse that bounce sound with gangster shit, and it worked,
Right.
Then on top of that, he made an ultimate power move around that time and got Snoop Dogg back on his feet. That was probably one of the biggest, most shocking signings ever. I mean, people will understand, like, that was probably like Kevin Durant going to Golden State at that time.
Right. And, P has a very tenacious work ethic, you know what I mean? Like you can't take nothing away from him, bro. He had his moment and he had his movement, and he seized it, you know what I'm saying? And he understood that, okay, I got a hot hand. Let me go ahead and flood the market. Let me go ahead and do this. And if you remember back then, it was such a movement to where, people think about it, the rappers, with the exception of Mystical and Snoop, everybody were unknown artists, but what was selling it was the brand. As long as that's the thing about branding. When they seen that tank every Tuesday, oh, you going to get that. You know what I'm saying? You're going to get that. It was such a hot movement, you know what I mean? And, he did his thing with that. He definitely did his thing with that.
When we look at that time, Court and King, we're thinking about it where literally 95 was the watershed moment for No Limit Records when they really went national. Within 2 years, I always say it on the show, I have every XXL magazine since their print in 1997. I have every Source magazine since 1994.
Nice.
So I followed this trajectory he was on. I have the October 1997 issue with P on the cover. I have the September 1997 issue. No, that was 97. Yeah, because he was on he was part of the double cover, the double XL with their debut official issue deal with Jay-Z and himself. And I mean, you're talking about an individual who was already rich. The deal with Priority, he was, I believe, getting 90% of the profits and only shelling out 10% of distribution.
85. It
was 85-15. See, you were there, so you know the numbers. 85-15. So he was, I mean, killing it. And he said, everything I have, I own. The Rolexes, Ferrari, studio, everything is paid for. Now, mind you, my nigga, this is 90 money, y'all. This
90's money.
Yeah.
20 mil could buy you like 80 acres back then.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, you got to figure at his height, he was, his net worth was, 600 million. You know what I mean? And that's because, again, he sold, 100 million records, you know what I mean? And when you do the math, see what happened was, again, I don't want to just trivialize it to luck, because, what God has for you, they have for you. But what it was is Priority, they didn't think he was going to do what he did. See, because him and JT got their deals with Priority at the same time. JT got his a month before P did, right? And so they thought that, okay, P, he'll maybe do 100, maybe 150,000. You know what I'm saying? So we ain't got no problem paying him $7 a CD. You know what I mean? Like, but that's why he made so much money, because he had they didn't expect him to go platinum, double platinum at $7 a CD. They didn't expect that. See, they thought, because basically I don't know if you know, but I had Dave Weiner on my show, who was instrumental in bringing Pete over to Priority. He chased him down at Music People. He's the one that brought him to Priority and facilitated the deal. So, I know firsthand from P and also from Dave, from the inside. Dave is a friend of mine, you know what I mean? So, they just weren't expecting him to, they just thought that, okay, he's doing 50, 60,000, we'll put our little touch on it. He'll do double that, and we'll do okay, and no, the nigga's going gold and platinum, and he's doing this damn near every Tuesday. And, it got to a point where they owed him so much money, you know what I'm saying? The billing, because it's like, damn, okay, he sold 500,000 of this shit in a month. Who the fuck is Skullduggery? And we got to pay him, you know what I'm saying? All this money. So that's why it was so profitable for him, because they just didn't expect him to do that. They didn't.
Now, do you feel that P is like, with the catalyst of bringing a whole lot of money to rap? Because Snoop Dogg even said that Master P changed the trajectory when it comes to bringing big money into rap music.
I think it was the way that he structured his deals and the way that he deal with the artists. You know what I'm saying? Because if you think about it, okay, so. And to his credit, Suge Knight did the same thing. Suge gets a lot of bad rap for a lot of shit, but if you understand business, Suge treated his artists really good. Now the difference with P this is the difference between what Suge and P was doing, is you would actually, so think about it, okay. So back then, if you got a record deal, if you got a traditional record deal, say you signed with Epic, Jive, or any one of them, right? Say an artist gets, I don't know, I mean, on average, a regular artist might get 7, 8, 9, but just for even numbers, let's say they get 10 points. You know what I'm saying? So you figure 10 points, okay? For each point is 7 cents. So let's just say 70 cents, right? Okay, so that's 70 cents a record that you get. That's from the mechanicals. That's not even counting the publishing, right? So let's just say some of them do publishing deals, so say, okay, you got a publishing deal. Maybe they gave you $250, okay, you got that. Then maybe they gave you a $350,000 advance. So you thinking, okay, I got $500,000. Okay, cool. So the $350, and just say whatever you spend on, whatever they got to spend on manufacturing, promotion, anything they got to spend on your behalf. So let's just say it's $700,000, right? So let's just say $700,000 been spent on your record. You getting 10 points. So that's 70 cents a record. Now 10 is high. Most of the time they was getting, 7, 6, 10 is high. So you getting 70 cents a record. Well, guess what? No matter if you go gold or you go platinum or whatever, you have to recoup that 700,000 out of that 70 cents.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
That's what they don't understand.
Yeah, so if you do 500,000, say you go gold, and that's 500,000 times 70 cents. So what is that? That's what is that?
350,000.
That's 300. Okay, that's 350,000. You still haven't recouped. You still owe them. You still owe them another 350. You see what I'm saying? So guess what? So also, this is why a lot of times you'll see artists, if you see Bun B talk about, okay, we never got a royalty check from Jai. You know what I mean? Because whatever you got up front is what you got, right?
Yeah.
But this is what P would do. So now think about it. They gave you 350 to get your record done. So like somebody like a MC8 or a lot of artists, this is where they got their own little production teams because, they had homies do the beats and throw them some money. So say they spend 50 on getting the record done, in the studio time, they got 300. But okay, cool. You still got to pay taxes. They still 1099 for that. You know what I'm saying? So you maybe got 150,000. Okay, you go get a car, go get a cool little, middle class home, whatever. Then you live off shows. Well, what P would do, is a little unorthodox. What he would do is he would say, hey, okay, check this out. What kind of house you want? You know what I'm saying? Okay, you want this house, $500,600,000, because that goes a long way in Louisiana. Okay, cool, bam, paid for it in your name. That's yours. Okay, what kind of cars you want? Okay, cool, paid for it in your name. Bam, you good to go. Okay, here's $350,000 in your account. That's yours. Okay. Now get the fuck out of my face to the next album. You know what I mean? So now when you think about it, who came out better? You know what I'm saying? Because if he had paid you like the majors paid you, you wouldn't be able to afford 2 or 3 cars paid for. You wouldn't be able to afford.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? You wouldn't be able to afford because Pete looked at it like the dope game. He looked at it like a hustler. You know what I'm saying? Now one could argue to say, well, hey, listen, I don't need you to be my daddy. I don't need you to do that for me. Like, pay me what you owe me and let me do what I want with my money. But guess what? He knew, nigga, you're not that responsible. You're going to fuck your money up when I give it to you. And then you're going to be coming back looking at me crazy, blaming me that you ain't got shit because you didn't understand shit. So here, I'm going to make sure because you coming from the projects, you're nobody. Right? You're coming from the projects. Here's your first $500,000 house. Here's your Navigator and your Mercedes. Here's $350,000, more money you ever had at one time. So, nigga, I'm already into you for almost $1 million. You know what I'm saying? So almost $1 million, right? So you figure your record come out, sell 300,000-400,000. You know what I'm saying? So he done made probably, let me see. So if that's 300,000, maybe that's $2 million that's made off of that. But then, you subtract expenses or whatever. So say he made $1.5 million off of you. He already done spent half of that on you. So it's like he split it with you. You see what I'm saying? It's like he split it. You see what I'm saying? So this is why he was fair, because now somebody like Suge, he would do that too. The only difference was when you got your cars, they in Death Row's name. When you got your house, it's in another name. You don't necessarily own it. Now he's giving you money every month. You know what I'm saying? You getting 60, 70,000, 100,000, especially Snoop, 100,000 a month to live off of. You know what I'm saying? So, people just did things differently. But so yes, in saying that, at the height when things was rolling, Pete did take care of everybody.
It's crazy, Court, because in that soliloquy of superbness you gave us, you cleared up a hell of a long years of misconceptions and questions about how both of them did business.
Yeah.
Disclaimer, because what I'm about to say has been documented, it's been in magazines, it's been said by the artists themselves, so we're not running off just saying whatever.
Yeah.
Because this first part has to go with what happened with Snoop and Death Row. Because Snoop ended up leaving because he was saying, and he said this in the source in May '98 when he was on the cover, and he talked about the fact that he wasn't paid.
Yeah.
And they asked, "What was going on?" He's like, "Because I'd heard stories. Now you said Snoop was getting 100,000. I'd heard the number one point he was getting 50 a month. But anyway, the thing was, Snoop was saying that he hadn't been paid since October '97. He hadn't been paid, and that's why he wanted to get off.
Yeah.
We heard the stories about what had happened to Death Row. We did not know the logistics exactly of the ownership of it. And that's where P, now once again, everybody, you got to understand, this is 90s money.
Mm-hmm.
He paid $3 million to get Snoop out of his contract with Death Row plus some album points.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, can y'all think about this? This is 1997,
Mm-hmm.
and P had $3 million freestanding cash to buy the man out of his contract. That's unheard of.
That was pocket change to P. You know what I mean?
know,
That $3
but
million.
he was balling.
But this is the thing. But in all fairness, you know, so it was a domino effect. It wasn't completely Suge's fault directly. So what happened was Suge had a clause in his contract with Interscope that if he went to jail, that they really wouldn't do business with him. You know what I'm saying? Wow. So what happened was the reason Snoop wasn't getting paid, not because Suge didn't want to pay him, it's because the money stopped with Interscope.
Got you.
So that's when he went to jail. That's what fucked it up. So now, Suge, so you got to think Suge's in jail. You know what I mean? The Interscope is like, Suge is not running shit. We not funding no more money because he's not here to handle business and do what we know he can do so we can all eat, right? So the money stopped. You know what I mean? So that's what it was. So obviously it's a trickle down effect. So, you know, that's why. And then again, you know, when you have such a valuable artist like Snoop, he's in limbo because his label owner's locked up. Interscope is like, shit, we don't know what to tell y'all. We not fucking with it if he ain't around. So Snoop is in limbo. So rightfully so, you know, he becomes disenchanted and he still got a life to live. And that's where P was able to come in and say, hey, you know what? I got it from here. You know what I'm saying? So that's, you know, in all fairness, it wasn't that, you know, and I'm not defending or absolving Suge from anything, but just the facts is it wasn't that Suge just wasn't paying him or trying to starve him out. You know what I mean? Hello?
Yeah, we here.
Okay.
Yeah, we here.
Yeah.
I mean, but given the situation like that, from that side of it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but given the situation and everything, that was another issue because we did not know the logistical aspects of how that contract was structured. Because for a lot of years, people, shout out to Death Row and everybody over there because we got a lot of friends over there. So we didn't want to put out any information that was perceived as misleading or outright disrespectful. And off the cuff, we always want to try to get the facts straight to the best of what we are able to ascertain and have clarity on it. You clarified all of that for us. When you think about that time court in the 90s, with what was happening, of course, just in that era, we look at what was Biggie passed in 97. Puffy was beginning to make his ascent. You know, Snoop was in the midst of a transition. Master P was still riding high. Wu-Tang was still rolling. What was the overall scene musically like that in terms of just how the trends were running? It was a crazy time. Was it very video shows, magazines? There was so many. It was a confluence of so many different entities of entertainment, literature, promotions that really defined and would dictate the product in terms of branding and moving. What did you see at that time?
It was a great time, you know, because it became like the new gold rush, like the new dope game. You know, independence was a popular thing. You know, again, you still had tangible goods that you were selling. So, you know, it was a sheer numbers thing. If you got a hot rapper, you know, and you had some dope money or somebody with some dope money or money, regardless, and you wanted to get into it, it was like, hey, listen, we can do this independent. You know, it was plentiful if you knew how to do it. And it was like, okay, cool. You know, you can get, you know, create a buzz, do some mixtapes, have, you know, 500, you know, sell 50,000 units, you know, understand that you can deal with Ground Level, Gonzalez, Super D, Selecto Hits, City Hall, any number one of one stops or whatever, you can deal with them and you can make some money, you know, to take a couple ads in the Source and Murder Dog, you know what I mean? Get a feature and even get a feature if you got the money to get a feature from a national artist, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it was like a gold rush, but at the same time, it was a little, like anything else, when it becomes too saturated, then and everybody starts doing it, then it starts to kind of, a lot of things get compromised, it just cheapens the whole thing, because it becomes just too flooded, so that's also kind of what I saw happening as well. You go in the record store, man, and, it's so many fucking records in there. Hell, you can't even keep up. You look into magazines really ate back then, because everybody named Mama was trying to buy ads in Murder Dog and Rap Pages and Source and, I mean, you name it, Ozone, it was so many national and regional magazines. So it was a good time. I mean, I know I made a lot of money too back then, independently, so yeah, it was like the gold rush.
Now,
coming in, now you guys, one of the, hold on, kid, because I wanted to shout out Ozone, because he named we got to give a shout out to Julia Beverly.
Yeah, that's the homie. Yeah, that's a personal friend of mine. Yeah.
Julia is a jewel. She's a jewel.
That's the homie.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Her, Wendy Day. Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to Wendy Day. That's another one. Yeah.
Yeah, King. I just had that thought. Go ahead, King.
You good?
I don't want to cut across you. Yeah.
You good? Now we going into 1999, and you guys are riding high. You know what I'm saying? Riding off of 98. Then Cash Money Records come along, and they start blowing up. Now, did you guys consider them as, like, rivals, or you guys see them as competition, or was it a situation where y'all just had mutual respect and just wanted to see them shine?
Well, I can tell you from two perspectives. One being, understanding that, I was one of the few guys on No Limit that weren't from New Orleans or Louisiana. You know what I'm saying? So I understood the politics from the outside looking in, and what a lot of people don't know or may know is it was never anything with the artists, because all of them grew up together. All of them knew each other. They all went to school or played ball with each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, Serve and Baby knew each other very well. Like, they played ball together. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the artists, New Orleans is not a big city. You know what I'm saying? So it really just came down to two things. It was really just kind of some street shit, and that had nothing necessarily to do directly with people, but it's the affiliation of people, and maybe a little bit of ego too, but there was never any real direct issue with No Limit and Cash Money. Like I said, it was a little bit of street politics, and it was just kind of like, okay, because of whatever that is, we kind of can't rock because of that one thing right there. You know what I'm saying? So that's it. No, but it was, if you notice, the artists always mingled and fucked with each other. You know what I mean? It was really just kind of, maybe the bosses, would kind of have a little energy or whatever, but nah, it wasn't ever nothing like that.
It was a XXL article, or a source article I read, and they kind of asked P about it, and there was some comments at the time. Of course, this was years ago, where he didn't take too kindly when he said, there was some, I guess, what he perceived as Cash Money at the time, kind of, dismissing No Limit is kind of like being a has-been, and they were new wave. And P said, those comments, they kind of pissed me off because we all from the same place, uptown. And I won't get too heavy into it.
Man, that's a lot of, and that's also plays a lot of, and we're gonna definitely get into that, how a lot of publications, they love stirring the pot, so to speak, because it brings a lot of clicks, a lot of controversy.
For sure.
And it stirs up a lot within camps.
Yeah, because people love, like now, it's clicks over context. But what I can say is, if you go back to the time, again, so in all fairness, right, No Limit started in the Bay. But No Limit was a West Coast label. that migrated back down south. So see, people in New Orleans that didn't even know that No Limit and P was even from New Orleans. You see what I'm saying? So technically, Cash Money, you know, they're the home team. See, it was really just Cash Money and Big Boy. I think it was Big Boy and then like Big Truck or some. It was only a few labels actually locally started and bred in New Orleans. No Limit was a West Coast label. It just was. It was a West Coast label initially. You know what I'm saying? So, but then if you take it back to that time, man, like, you know, listen, these guys are young. You know what I mean? P is in his late 20s, early 30s. You know, Baby, same thing. The young niggas getting his money, knew the fame, knew the power. So there's going to be a margin of error and ego and you know what I mean? Like, you know, that's just human. It's human nature. You know, like I would tell people, even with Suge, even when you think about Tupac, you know, Tupac died at 25.
25,
you know,
yeah.
My oldest daughter is 30. My daughter's 31. You know what I'm saying? So, and I even still kind of look at her like a baby. So if you think about it, you know what I'm saying? These are kids. These are young adults trying to find their way from the projects, from poverty, you know, and they just making mistakes in front of the world. They just doing it in front of the world. We did them. I made mistakes too. I just didn't have a whole world looking at me. You know what I mean? So a lot of times I like to, you know, when you look back on it, it's like, yeah, some things probably were said, but, you know, we come from hip hop. We come from the hood. It's always going to be a level of competition. It's always, you know, my dick is bigger. My bankroll is fatter. My bitch is badder. You know, my niggas is tougher. Of course, it's always going to be that, you know. So, you know, I think a lot of that was just really ego driven on both sides.
You know, Court, when we think about that time too, we look at anybody who knows the street, you know, politics and is a scholar in academia of the alleys know New Orleans is one of the places you really, we have a saying on the show, the South beef's different and the Bay beef's different.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And you do not want to situate. New Orleans is one of the places, and shout out to all the people we've had, you know, OG Puzzle, G.I. Peaches, you know, so many artists.
Shout out to G.I. Peaches. Yep.
Yeah, man. You know, and it's like one thing is said, New Orleans is a place you do not want to have problems.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
I say this as a reference.
You might be lucky to get one disc record. You might you're going to probably get 2 good disc records. You're not going to get about 5 or 10. They ain't going to go back and forth like Kendrick and Drake. Them niggas going to go, they're going to drop one, and they're going to drop one, and they're going to like, all right, we're going to see each other.
Yeah, you know, I will say this, and I've said this publicly as well. You know, I've traveled this country. I've been to probably damn near every major city. You know, a handful of times. You know, but what I can say is yes, the New Orleans, the Memphis cats, and the Miami cats, them Zoes, like that's a whole different type of. Yeah, that's a whole different type of mentality. You know what I'm saying? They really be on some other shit down there.
Man, look, I remember OG Bezel, one of the funniest shows we did. Shout out to him. This is about 5-6 years ago. We had him on the show, and he was talking about how he's like, you just a man out in New Orleans. You gotta go see that man. He's like, you got niggas that'll be the type to roll up to the club, put a gun to the promoter head, and be like, where is it?
Yeah.
Don't play that disc record up there.
No, and when you think about it in contrast, you know, if you think about it, New Orleans only has a population of maybe 300,000, you know, yet they have, you know, annual murders of 300-400. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's just crazy.
Yeah. So if you put it in context of the population, you know, and then a lot of that happens in a small, very small, concentrated area. You know, so it's like I say, damn, New Orleans, Memphis, and the Miami project niggas, and Liberty City type niggas. Yeah, they something different.
Projects, all of that.
Yeah, they something different.
As you got in the game for, what did you learn in terms of the process of creating, in terms of really being on a label, deadlines, production budgets, promotions, traveling? What did you learn in all of your experience doing it?
Well, for me, it came it came natural. Again, I think my business acumen was just innate, but it was just none of us went to school for any of this. Like, even, I made most of my money off of, my independent records. And, but what I did learn was about taxes, because that's what got me in tax trouble. So,
it's okay.
Nobody had taught me about that thing called 1099. You know what I mean?
Right.
So when I'm 21, 22, and I'm getting checks for, 300,000-400,000 and 70,000 here, 80,000 here, and I'm getting this shit every 60 days, I'm thinking that's all me, and especially coming from the hood, I'm like, oh shit, that's all me. And I had the wherewithal to understand what I was profiting. Like, okay, I spent $20,000 on manufacturing. I spent this and this, that, and the other. So I understand I'm in the green with this, and this is my market money. This is what I'm gonna put back into it. But yeah, it was that other thing called 1099 that I had to find out the hard way. So that's what I learned. I learned about taxes.
How important is it, Court, that artists, because this is an education that everybody needs to understand in terms of how much money you actually get and how much you actually owe. And we see a lot of times with these artists, we've seen stories before. Jermaine Dupri, when he got in tax trouble, he spoke about it. Mm-hmm. He talked about how even then, the issues that happened in social death at that time, that still nobody missed a paycheck that worked for him. Mm-hmm. What do artists have to understand about the financial discipline? Because we're going to get to the part about discipline, because it's helped you in your other hobby as well, which we'll get to, your other passion. What do artists have to understand about fiscal responsibility and money discipline in terms of not necessarily trying to buy that Bentley right away, or that bust-down Rolex, or the 28-inch, 22 karat, Cuban link chain with the big ass gold down in the Dow. What do artists have to understand about that?
Well, unfortunately, especially us coming from these environments, we're not taught financial literacy. You know what I mean? We come from backgrounds where people are just trying to make it. You know what I'm saying? Right, so they don't have the knowledge to give you, and obviously it's not in the record company's best interest, nor is it their responsibility to teach you and make sure you know it. You know what I'm saying? So, so it's really just empowering yourself and educating yourself. And I understand. I can see how it goes wrong, just like an athlete, because once you get this money, of course you want to get all the things you felt like you didn't have and you couldn't have. And sometimes, depending on the personality, those accoutrements of success tend to, fill the voids of other things. Listen, just because some of these niggas get money and popularity don't mean that they weren't dweebs and goobers. And they did, some of these guys, they finally get attention from women. They finally get respect. They finally get, that adulation that they have been, seeking. So it gets deep sometime. And those things tend to kind of mask other things, that maybe they felt like they were missing. But, in summation, it really just comes back to just educating yourself, understanding that, and that comes with getting older and wiser. But a lot of times, like I can remember telling a few of my youngins, that was getting to some money. And I was able to share it with them, like, hey, you're bragging about, okay, oh man, I got the pink slip to this car. I bought this Bentley. I paid $425 for it. And I'm like, okay, I hear that, right? And one could argue that, okay, you pay for it. Yeah.
Too much.
Not Bentley. I'm sorry, Rolls Royce, right? So they sitting up there with a Phantom or whatever. So, and it's like, okay, you pay $425 for it, but you got to depreciate it, not even sitting in the driveway. Okay, now one would argue, this is what they say, well, if I fall off, I can always sell it. Okay, one could argue that, you can maybe sell it for $175,000, $200,000, but let me tell you how rich people do it. And I tell them I had to learn this trial and error as well. I said, if you just have to have it, right? Okay, cool. Because you balance, you work hard, you want to be able to do what you want to do. What a rich person would do is they would say, okay, well, the car is $4,000. Let's say $400,000, a Cullinan. Let's just say a Cullinan. You can lease a Cullinan for probably $4,500 a month. right? So that comes out to about maybe about 50, 55 a year. Okay. Now, if you got 400,000 to park, okay, you spend 55,000. Take that from that four that you have. You got 345. Well, what a rich person is going to do is they're going to lease that thing in their company name. They're going to write off the depreciation. They're going to write it off, and they get a tax break because of the weight of the car. You know, that's why a lot of people buy those G-Wagons, because the weight, you get a tax deduction. So now they're going to write it off. Guess what? They got another 345 still sitting in their account that they can go make some more money with and probably make up the 55 that they spent even leasing the car for the year. So you still got to play with the car. You kept 350. You took the 350 and still went and flipped it and made some more money. Plus you got a tax write-off because of the weight of the car and the depreciation of it. You see what I'm saying? So you got everything done. You see, you still, but again, the mentality that, you know, buy, we got to look the part. We got to be real. I got the pink slip. And there are times when you should buy a car, but guess what? That car is going to be a one in a Bugatti, or it's going to be a 67 Mustang, or a 55 Corvette, something that's going to appreciate with value. You know what I'm saying? So yes, if you're going to buy a classic car that's going to appreciate, then yeah, you do want to go ahead and own it. You pay $150,000, $200,000 for a Cobra, and you know, in 5 years, you can sell that bitch on Mecum car auction for double. You know what I'm saying? But something new is not going to do that. So that's just an example, you know, in terms of fiscal responsibility. But you just got to educate yourself. You know, hire some people that you trust. For one, educate yourself so you can understand and watch the people that you hire too. But, you know, hire the right people, get the right people around you so you can make the best moves and act like that shit gonna dry up. Don't act like it's gonna be like that forever. You know what I'm saying? Act like, you know what, this shit only gonna last for a year or two, and I don't want to be fucked up, so I'm gonna act like I was when I was broke. Matter of fact, when I was broke, I was buying real jewelry. Now that I'm rich and got some money, or I'm well-to-do, I'm finna start buying some fake shit, because y'all gonna think that shit real anyway. You know what I mean? So you got to think like that. You know, you got to really think smart.
And that's, like you said, Court, that's two points on that, what you said, because what you talked about, how a lot of people get high off the hog until they done ate off the bone, and ain't the bones ain't left. You think about most notably what happened with Hammer. That's right. And how big he was. And, you know, his estimated worth in 1991, 92, I believe, was $30 million.
Yeah.
But his level of the type of music that he was doing, as gangster rap began to rise to prominence in the early 1990s, his music really wasn't like that anymore. And the record sales, and this is roughly he did Too Legit to Quit a year after he did Please Hammer Don't Hurt Him, which is one of the two first albums. Vanilla Ice's To the Extreme is the other, released in that same year. That were diamond. They both were certified diamond. Those were the first two diamond certified albums, 10 million sold. And Hammer at that time thought that his success was going to be same thing with Vanilla Ice. And what happened? Both of them wound up in financial trouble because that money ended up running out on them at the time. Yeah,
athletes do the same thing. It's easy to do. I mean, I've done it on my own level as well. I tell people it's very easy to do, because what can happen is, you know, exactly what 30 million, you know, a year, or say he's making 10 million a year, you know, he thinks your expenses and your life is predicated on that. You know what I'm saying? And when that stops, and if you haven't made moves to supplement that, to do either at least what you were doing or more, but then you're still trying to sustain, and it's not till you see the bottom coming that it's too late. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, a person making 10 million a year, you know, their lifestyle is going to be indicative of that. You know what I'm saying? So, but once that money stops, yeah, you might have a liquid, you know, say you got 20 million, you know, but shit, how long is that going to last? You know, when your expenses is $1 million a month. You know what I'm saying? So, or even 500,000 a month, you know, and then a lot of times, you know, they'll try different shit that fails, and because they don't really understand, and, you know, you take a couple L's, and before you know it, you like, hold up, damn, you know what I'm saying? I got $1 million left, and fuck, my bills is $1 million, and now I got to scale back. But by the time you do that, it's too late.
I mean, that's real. I mean, we look at the situation with the situation that happened with Kanye. And I was telling everybody, and everybody was saying I was a hater. I'm like, no. I'm like, he's not a billionaire. I'm like, because he has not seen that whole deal with Adidas through at the time. I'm like, and I always said this, and King will tell you this because me and him had conversations off air about it. I told him if he sees to the end of that contract, he'll have that $1 billion.
Right.
But he did what he did, and Adidas cut that financial rope with him.
Yep.
And I mean, the situation with Kanye with the house he got right now, they said that, you know, the house he was doing his renovations on is not even done. You know, I think he's trying to sell that.
Is this the one in Wyoming or the one in California?
I think it's one in L.A., I believe.
Okay.
He was doing a lot of renovations on, and you know, but he halted it because people, like you said, it's an anecdotal on both instances because people have to understand this. When you live a certain lifestyle and the perceptions and everything, your expenses are nuts. I mean, Entourage, for those that have not seen the 30 for 30 film the court talked about in terms of athletes, excellent film called Broke by Billy Corbin, the same individual that did the Cocaine Cowboys series and the U. Stellar documentary pieces. He is unbelievable, and he's from Miami. Y'all need to check that out because Broke was unbelievable. There's always the financial and the business health that you've always shown discipline in court. And you've translated that and that discipline to other aspects of your health as well in terms of weightlifting and the physical aspects. Tell us how you got interested in that in terms of and what it does it mean for health, especially for us as Black people and being performers where so much is glamorized of smoking and drinking and other vices. Please.
Yeah, I think for me, it was, I never smoke. I never got into drinking and drugging and smoking ever in my life, you know, so I was always an athlete. That's one thing me and P had in common. He's the same way. For me, it was just when I moved to LA, I started transitioning out of music and wanted to get into acting. And I actually stumbled into, a lot of people don't know, but I modeled for a spell, and it was something that actually fell in my lap. You know what I mean? And I remember it was crazy because I used to, show up to auditions. I have a gun in my waistband. I was still rough around the edges, even though I had, a little money and I'm doing different things, but my mentality hadn't quite, evolved. And I remember, it kind of fell in my lap, and I was like, hold up, y'all want to pay me to take pictures? Like, okay, I guess so. You know what I'm saying? So I did that. But, I was always athletic. I played basketball. And so it started out as a hobby of just really wanting to get a leading man body. That's how it started. You know what I mean? And as I got into doing it, I really enjoyed it. And it was so funny because I can remember back then I was chasing LL Cool J and 50 Cent. I was like, okay, these niggas is buff, man. I'm finna catch these niggas. And it was funny because I remember meeting LL one time, and he didn't even know I was sizing him up. I was standing next to him, and I was just kind of like, yeah, nah, I got this nigga, man. My shoulder's bigger than he is, and it was, but he was none the wiser, oblivious, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, it started out as just a hobby, and then it kind of bled over into, I would work out with Dexter Jackson, who's, was Mr. Olympia, different bodybuilders that I would meet, at Gold's Gym out here in LA and different gyms. So I started hanging out and training with bodybuilders. So then I started understanding diet and exercise, and it just became really a hobby, and just really fascinated with, because one thing we can't control is our body. If we can't control nothing else, we can control our body. And I think it was just the fact that, you could shape your body, you could form it and want it, and you can make it look like however you see it. You know what I'm saying? and you know, my fascination with Commando and Action Jackson back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know,
rest in peace, Carl Weathers.
Yeah. So coming from that era of what we perceived as masculinity and superhero, so I kind of got on that kid, especially being in the hip hop culture. It wasn't many that looked like that. You know what I'm saying? So that's how it started, man. And then also understanding the health, you know, implications with it, understanding that, you know, us as black men, we're already predisposed to a lot of different things, high blood pressure, you know, strokes and diabetes and different things like that, you know, when you talk about preventative health care, you know what I mean? And I've always kind of been a health guy. And, you know, my wife is an RN. She's always been in the health field. So me just understanding health, and then the discipline part of it, you know what I mean? Like when you talk to people that take martial arts, they're martial artists, you know, a lot of times they'll talk about the disciplines they apply in life. So it's the same thing with working out, because working out and building a physique is a very selfish sport. It's a single man sport, because, you know, it's a sport that's all day. People don't understand. Your muscles don't grow outside. They don't grow in the gym. They grow outside the gym. When you going in the gym for an hour, you're just there to break the muscle down. It's what you do those other 23 hours of the day to dictate your results. You know what I mean? So it was the discipline that I learned and the consistency from building the physique that I applied to other areas of my life that just sharpened me that much. You know, because like, you know, most times I don't feel like going to the gym. Most times I don't feel like eating that bland ass chicken and rice and broccoli, but I do anyway. So it's the same thing I apply with business. I may not always feel like answering the phone. I may not always feel like doing the work, but I do, because it's just ingrained in me. It's what I do every day, you know. So that's where I really benefited from it as well.
And you going to that transition in the podcast, then what were some of your favorite guests that you had?
Man, it's a lot of them, bro. But I would have to say Ice-T, Jay Prince, Bone Thugs and Harmony. Them are the ones off the top of my head. They would definitely be. I just had Lavelle Crawford. He was hilarious. I've had a lot of good ones, man. A lot of good ones. You know, sitting down with Snoop was cool. Man, it's been a lot of them. But those are off the top of my brain.
So in terms of the genesis of your name, Court, and then ultimately how the podcast will come, tell everybody about the origins of it.
How I came up with the name.
Yeah, your name, Court, Big Court, and then then how you would translate that into doing the podcast.
So the funny thing with the Holdin Court, I named it that because obviously a play on my name. But when I was a teenager, right before I went to jail, first time I went to jail, I can remember my mother. I was out on the porch talking shit with the homies. You know, we talking a bunch of gangster shit, whatever, half lies, half truths. You know, and so my mother overheard us. And I remember her saying, come here. So she called me in the house. She said, yeah. She said, I hear your ass out there. Call yourself Holdin Court. She said, yeah, you're going to fuck around and catch a case. You keep doing what you're doing. And so I remember thinking like, oh, man, she just fucking with me. But, you know, of course she was right. I was in jail probably within 45 days of her saying that. But that always stuck with me. It always stuck with me. So when you fast forward, you know, I would laugh about it over the years because I was like, damn, she was right. You know what I mean? And I just could always hear her saying, yeah, your ass out there holding court. You think you're big and bad and woo, woo, woo. So when it came time to do this, that was what, you know, I think she probably put that in my mind, and that's what I ran with.
We're seeing a time, Court, with what's going on in the streets, because you talked about your time being, you know, having to take a sit down. Like I said, King's 40, I'm 46. We grew up in a different time where certain levels of criminal activity, because, you know, we came up in the crack era, so we understood, and we knew niggas that was our age, even younger, who were carrying. But jail scared the hell out of us. And I think that's where certain levels at our generation, and and yours as well. You thought about situations before you really got into it. Certain places it was more intense and active than others in terms of where the action was and what you had to do to get what you had to get. But it was not necessarily something that was glorified with us growing up. We're seeing a generation of young people right now that are inviting and inciting rap beefs, talking shit, getting smoked on camera, literally, and running rampant and crashing out in terms of not even understanding how beautiful, fragile, and worthwhile life is, living it the right way. Where do you think this all changed, and what can we do as a community, as a hip-hop culture, and as a culture of people to tell our young people this isn't the way?
Man, that's such a layered question, but at the end of the day, man, I just think that they have to, all we can do is just say, I'm gonna be honest with you, all we can do is just try to, let those who have ears hear, let those who have eyes see.
Right.
We all, were given my mother gave me the dignity to kind of make my own mistakes. You know what I'm saying? And you just hope that the mistakes that they make aren't life altering or to their demise. That they can come back from it and learn from it, because I'll be honest with you, nothing is going to hit harder or talk louder than life and life experience. So unfortunately, some people don't hear it, but I tell youngsters all the time, listen, the goal is to live and become a successful square, not die prematurely, a deceased real nigga. You know what I'm saying? So I think that, they just got to understand that the space that they're in, a lot of things they may think are important or trivial. They, don't make decisions predicated on where you are. Make them, based on where you're trying to go. And, that, because I used to be, I just wasn't a nigga that didn't have hope. See, I always had hope and always knew in the back of my mind there was something bigger for me. But, some of these kids, they don't have any vision. They can't see anything but what they see in front of them, So, as they say, it takes a village to raise a child. It's easier to bring up strong, to raise strong kids than repair broken men. You know what I'm saying? So, I think it just, it's a layered question.
I know. And I mean, what you gave was essential information, because it kind of translates back to the music in terms of how it was, in terms of what it is. And I mean that from the perspective of, back in the day, you really had to do something noteworthy to get noticed.
That's right.
The videos, King and myself, we talk about it all the time in terms of this clout era, fucking everybody want to be known.
Yep.
It's like back in the day, you get on TV or, look, nigga, you get a video out back in the day, it's like, yo,
you was the man.
Did something just to get a video on TV.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Get noticed get a mention in the magazines, you get interviewed, and then, but we're in an era now with social media that everything is out there. We know so much about these people's private lives. Yep. And then you got people who are just volunteering their whole life out there.
Yeah, bro. I talk about that all the time. Back in the day, bro, listen, it was magic, right? We love Michael Jackson. We love Sammy Davis Jr. We love Gregory Hines. We love, these people. You know why? Because they could do something that no one could do. They had a talent that no one could, or very few people could do. They did it at such a high level, right? That's why we loved them. That's why they were on TV. They were special. It was magic. But now, the playing field is level now. Now the concept of celebrity has been so watered down because it comes back to popularity and attention. So now, attention is the new drug. Everybody just wants attention. I just seen a clip of some guys, three little guys that were on a podcast or an interview or something. And two of the guys,
girl sent me that. Shout out to Nell. Yeah,
you see what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, man. So nowadays, people will say whatever. They will expose whoever. They will lie on whoever. They will embarrass themselves, embarrass their families. They will create false narratives. They'll do whatever for the click and for the attention. And that's just the world that we live in, you know. But one thing you have to know is, you know, it's a one-trick pony. You just have a lot of ponies doing it. You know what I'm saying? But it's a one-trick pony. It's not sustainable. You know what I'm saying? You can only troll and do so much dumb shit until people say, oh, okay, we get it, we bored, you know. But as long as people click on that shit, as long as the platforms incentivize people to get traction however they can get it, you know, by paying them, and brands fuck with them and other platforms fuck with them and support they dumb shit, it'll be there, you know.
And, you know, when you think about it, because back in the day, record labels were really conscious about what they were trying to put out there in terms of making sure that their artists weren't crashing and burning. And there's always been an intrinsic link with the street and hip-hop, because hip-hop came from the street culture. Mm-hmm. You had a lot of street individuals who translated that business savvy from the block into the business of music. And there was a certain level of it was understood that you did not want to send that off the cliff in any capacity of crazy. Mm-hmm. We're getting these young artists coming in that seemingly have no concept of how to. I mean, when you were with P, what was P's? And we've heard stories about how P was very, very, very stringent in terms of control and making sure that everybody understood this is a business and we're going to act accordingly as such.
For sure.
What do artists have to understand about how they present themselves out there to the public? And this is the image that if you come out there foolish, this is how people are going to perceive you as.
Well, it's hard to try to convey that to them, or them to even take it serious, because the more foolish they are, the more attention and the more adulation they get. See, it's different. It's a different sensibility now, you know, because back in our day, when you did something foolish, you know, it was different. You got judged, or people looked down on you, or you fumbled because people thought you were a buffoon. They thought you was a crash out or whatever. Now you're celebrated for being such, you know. So it's just like back in the day, you know, hustlers, you know, they look down on crackheads. They look down on druggies and people that use drugs. Well, now it's celebrated. It's cool to be a pill head. It's cool to do coke. It's cool. Like in our day, no, nigga, you was a weirdo. You was a hype. You a fiend. You know, so it's just totally opposite now. Everything. Even if you talk about, you know, homosexuality back in the day, if a person they was in the closet, you know, that was your auntie's friend, that was your uncle's friend, you know what I mean? Like now, everything is just everything that could be considered wrong or wretched or you know, unethical is celebrated now. So the lines have been blurred. You know, you really have to be rooted in something and stand on something and have a level of integrity these days. You know, that's why I pride myself on my platform. It'd be so easy for me to be messy and do all of that shit and get the clicks, probably make 10 times the money and whatever. It's easy to be Tasha K. That's intellectually lazy. You know, everybody wants to be heard, right? So it's a million people that got a story, true or false. Oh, you met T.I. one time, you got a picture with him? Okay, cool. So you want to run that and say that you did all this with him and did all that and seeing it probably just was that picture and y'all kept it moving. But guess what? People gonna click on it. You know, and people are not gonna vet it. People are gonna take it as face value. You know, and I think a lot of times the public, at least my theory, a lot of people are miserable, and misery loves company. Because guess what? I'll be honest with you. I don't even take in a lot of content. I don't click on gossip or who's fucking who and who said this about this, and I don't click on that type of shit because that's not even where my mind and where I'm vibrating at. You know what I mean? But guess what? You got a lot of messy people, a lot of miserable people who project their shit. They traffic in that and they feel comfortable in that because they love to see the train wreck. You know why? Because then it makes them feel better. It doesn't, I'm not alone. I'm not alone. You know, my shit's fucked up. They shit's fucked up. They fucked up. Okay, we're in this together. I don't identify with that. You know, you know what I'm saying? Like, nah, you know, so it's we're in a crazy time right now.
As a father, as a husband, as a son, and above all, a black man in America, what does it mean to you for the platform that you have and how you have been able to achieve, inspire, through all the obstacles and hardships you've overcome, and still pushing through and persevering and triumphing and still trailblazing to this day? What does that mean to you?
Well, you know, I always say that, you know, everybody, you know, calls themselves or want to be considered influencers, but my thing be, okay, what are you influencing people to do? Right. You know? And I think you know, for me, again, you know, as I say, it's a recurring saying that I always say, you live life long enough, it'll teach you how to live. You know, people don't remember, you know, how much money you had, what kind of car you had. People remember how you made them feel. So when you start talking about leaving a legacy and leaving a mark, you know, I want to be able to actually contribute something to the human experience, to the culture. You know, it's always super gratifying when people message me and say, hey, bro, I really love your podcast, man. You made me think about this. You inspired me to do this. You inspired me to do that, man. That was real shit. You know, I was thinking about doing this, but when I heard you, you know, so, it was important for me to, like I say, humanize the culture. You know, I wanted to represent and just let the people know, just let the world know that we are not a monolith. All of us are not messy. All of us are not into gossip. All of us are not ignorant. You know, that's just not what that is. You know, I wanted to provide some balance to the culture. So, you know, I think I did that, you know, and I do it and I hear it all the time. So for me, hey, listen, if I never made a dime, that it was worth it. That was well worth it right there. My job is done, you know.
And that's important, Court. When King started this, I can't praise my brother enough for this. You know, when he started off the Cuff 10 years ago, that was one of his missions in terms of what he wanted to do. And being part of this for the past 7 years, you know, I can't thank him and everybody else enough who co-signed for me to join the team. We understand our responsibility in media. It's like we were 615 episodes in now with this, so we are legitimate. Thank you. We are legitimate journalists, so we understand that through these trails, we've never had low moments because we've always been privileged. Every day we've been able to do this, we're blessed. So we've had a lot of highs and no lows. You know, and throughout the trails we've taken and trekked, it has taught us that if you go long enough with it, you're eventually going to catch that pass. And most importantly, you're going to have people cheering you on to see you with that winning touchdown or that winning basket. But the goal is all the same, to win. People like yourself, you know, living legends who are still burgeoning and writing their legacy of greatness and the tenacity of their, you know, endeavors. For you to join us means so much, you know, because it shows that we've done something along the way, and most importantly, we did it the right way. Or at least we hope we did.
Right, for real.
You know, But that is something, like you said, it resonates because there's so much misconceptions about us as people, that we're drama-filled, that we're hateful, that we're, especially if we're men, we're misogynistic, belligerent, confrontational, angry. And the reality is that we are rational, however, angry when provoked. But intellectual, thoughtful, compassionate, caring, and most important, we have a heart and we are human. And that's all we want to convey in any daily dialogue, is that we're all people, and we want to make sure that the messages that are conveyed to each other are ones of respect and dignity, with an emphasis on honor and integrity. That's most important.
That's right. And to be able to do that, amidst of, the public's predilection to an insatiable appetite for bullshit, you know what I'm saying? To be a leader and not to, just succumb to the temptation of being popular and being seen, it's cool. All of that is cool, but you want to be popular and seen for the right reasons. You know what I'm saying? Right. So, I always commend, any platform that's being true to themselves, you know what I'm saying? And being true to, now listen, hey, listen, I understand there's room for everybody. I get it. If you a messy motherfucker in real life, you probably gonna be like that on social media. What I'm saying? But I get it. but don't aspire to be that. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're wanting to get in this space and you think that's how you have to be in order to do it, and you're really not that, but you just feel like that's what you got to do, it's like, nah, man, take a step back, do what you love. Do what's true to you. Find your people, because just like it's a bunch of messy, gossiping people, there's a bunch of people that want to, share the same interests that you share. You know what I mean? So, that's what my brand was built on, and I believe that's why it has been able to sustain. I see it, and it's funny because you can tell sometimes when maybe bigger platforms, pay attention to what you're doing. And I kind of see, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, see, I see them trying to get on the same train I'm on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we've had that too.
Yeah, because again, it's a one trick pony, the controversy. And then too, I really kind of hate when others come into the culture and they really try to monetize our trauma and our pain. Like, I went on a platform and, we were kind of discussing that. And on this particular platform, that's his whole platform is Chicago niggas and gangbangers on how many times they've been shot, been to jail, all of that type shit. But to him, he feels like, well, no, this is interesting. This is controversy. People love that. But I'm like, yeah, but you're not black. And not that you have to be black. I'm not relegating our blackness to just criminality. But at the same time, I'm like, bro, bullets hurt. You know what I'm saying? Like, nigga, people getting killed and gang banging and all that shit is entertainment to y'all, but this is real life that's damaging my people and my culture. It's entertainment to you. It's not entertaining. You know what I'm saying? People, and I understand the people that's not in it and the people that's not privy to it. Yeah, because you're vicariously living through them. But no, this is some real shit that you making money off of, and all these other people. So again, and I'm not saying those stories don't need to be told, but I think, sometimes it's not what you do, it's how you do it, Yeah,
and on top of that, I mean, I have a good idea what that show is, and I know that's that show that's staging the Jerry Springer fights for clout. But that's another argument right then and there.
Oh, no, not that one. Not that one. This is another one. I know the one you're talking about. No, this is another one.
But one thing about it, y'all, and I think is the most important, is that, this is the thing. Our experiences have had a lot of drama and trauma, but there's also been a lot of triumph and achievement. I think exactly. We always want to highlight the good, because it's always,
that's right.
When you look at how sensationalism sells, sensationalism is based a lot of times in an animal instinct of, like you said, the most insatiable need to feed on the red meat of everything that is ratchet, destructive, controversial, and provocative, and not in that order for that matter. More than anything, we have to show that there is another dimension, because the diet of which people indulge themselves in terms of what they listen to and watch will ultimately be the mental fitness or deficiency of which they are enriched or starved out of.
Mm-hmm.
And that is important. What you watch and what you see is very important in how you perceive the world.
That's a fact.
And that's why we, like myself, King, yourself, I think we pride ourselves in being in more educational and academic pursuits that are about enriching us as individuals that enable us to have the knowledge to uplift others around us. And I think that's paramount more than anything.
Yeah, and I think it's all about context. Like I say, it's what you do. It's how you do what you do. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be exploitive.
Right.
These subject matters don't have to always be heuristic or pejorative. You know what I mean? Like, it can still be. I always look at it as a real life case study. Like, okay, cool, yeah, that happened. You got shot. Okay, what was the circumstances of that? Okay, cool. That was traumatic. You know what I mean? Now let's move on. How did that affect you? How did you come up off of that? How'd you deal with the PTSD in that? You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, I want to know, shit, you was out there thugging. Do you have life insurance? Did you have health insurance? Oh, you didn't. Okay, yeah. Tell them about how they put that bill on you and how that fucked up your credit. You know what I'm saying? Talk about, this is exactly. So these are and my thing is, let's talk about the real shit. Yeah, it was cool. Oh man, I made it. I got hit 8 times. Yeah, I'm super nigga. You know what I mean? But it's like, okay, but yeah, let's talk about how you didn't have health insurance. Let's talk about the nerve damage. Let's talk about the nightmares. Let's talk about, the shit that comes with it, not just the sensationalism of it. You know what I mean? Let's talk about, all the homies that got killed, but damn, how come, he got killed? He had on a chain, he had a grill in his mouth, but damn, life insurance is $20 a month for a basic policy, and he ain't had none of that. You know what I mean? Like, let's so it's more to explore and learn from than just, you know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, the homie got shot, and this why I don't trust nobody, and woo woo woo. Okay, we get that part, and that makes sense what you're saying. But let's talk about why y'all was having fish fries for this nigga, and he had 20,000 in his mouth. You know what I mean? Like, so let's learn something from it too. Let's not just exploit it. But a lot of people can't take that. They ain't ready for them conversations.
Well, it's called the other side. Like for niggas spit on born and raised. And of course, like the album Papa IQ had, your entertainment, not reality. And people have to understand at the end of the day, like Genius said, I got your back. I'm trapped in a deadly video game for just one man, so I ain't only got to watch my back, I got to watch my front, because it's the niggas in front to be on the hunt.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So these are like lessons, I think, that people, if they adhere to in terms of having a modicum of common sense and understanding what goes on. We like to think common sense is something everybody has, but it's like change, and don't everybody pick it up, because it ain't that common for everybody out there.
No, that's right. And my thing is to always, trace to, explore the pathology of these things. You know what I'm saying? But, like I always say, bro, some people, it ain't in them, it's on them. It ain't there. The people that don't hear it and they don't get it, then, it wasn't for them to get or to hear in the first place, So, hey, listen, social media is a it's a wonderful tool when used properly, but like anything else, it can be abused. You know what I'm saying? And attention is creating monsters. You know what I'm saying? Just with the media in general, just the way what people are entertained by, whether it be the ghetto ass reality shows or just and. The thing that bothers me too sometimes, and then I'll wrap it up, but is, I don't know. And I don't want to be hypercritical, because I love our culture. And then let me repeat this too. We're only talking about a small sector. So I'm I'm not speaking in absolutes. This is not even a big portion of our culture. And, you know, when I say culture, I mean hip hop culture and black people, right? So we're only talking about a small sector, you know. But even when we talk about that sector, you know, it's a thing about how it seems as if that sector of people can only see themselves in the most wretched light, if that makes sense. So like, somebody that graduates from college or gets a degree or whatever, they're not celebrated like the person that did 15 years and just came home. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if someone elects not to be street or not to be hood, or they work a job, or they want to settle down with one woman, or they want to be a family man, then they, looked upon as square and not cool and not with the shit. You see what I'm saying? But, but we can look at, and I'm guilty of this too, but we can look at, rap videos with niggas with switches and guns and all kind of shit and projecting that negativity. And that has become so regular. We're so programmed and we're so used to seeing ourselves in that light that's comfortable for us. That's comfortable, but it's not comfortable to see somebody, oh, damn, he just graduated, valedictorian or cum, what they call it, magna cum laude, yeah, and that's, you see what I'm saying? It's just like when you hear, I'm trying to think, I saw something where, what was it? I think it was Nelly. It was somebody that it was one of these rappers that had went back to school and got like a GED or did something like that. Nothing, right? It just, the blogs didn't pick up on it. It wasn't anything interesting or whatever. But if that same rapper, got into a scuffle or, got pulled over and they found some weed or tweeted something negative, it goes viral, and I just hate that. It just seems like we're just so comfortable seeing ourselves and, we're more comfortable seeing ourselves like that than we are. I remember talking to some youngsters, some millennials, and I was like, man, when we grew up, we had the Cosby Show. We had, when me watching a different world made me actually want to go to college and get that experience. You know what I'm saying? But it's like when you try to communicate them to them, I ain't fucking with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't need it. I'm just trying to get to this money, just the money. And I'm like,
the
man,
bag talk.
You don't even know yet that it's more to life than that. But okay, you'll get it. Keep living. Keep waking up.
But that's a generation gap in terms of the music and the programming, which we'll probably get into the part 3 of whenever we do that one, because I think it's just about how, everything has been changed. In terms of the music, we listened to everything growing up. It wasn't just one thing. The TV shows, the comedy, when you look at Martin, when you look at Living Single, when you look at Rock, when you look at the Wayans brothers, when you look at, the Jamie Foxx show, all of that was rooted. The comedy was real, and it was rooted in a place of real humor, not in some stereotypes, but it was lighthearted. Robert Townsend was kind of giving us that message years ago when he did Hollywood Shuffle.
That's right.
In terms of how they'll try to pigeonhole us in certain places.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like we're seeing a situation where, and I preface this by saying whatever people's sexual orientation or their personal lifestyle is, that's on them. That's who they are. But now we're seeing a situation where all I'm going to say is we're seeing, especially black men, in situations and public wearing certain things and this and the other that we would have never thought of wearing back then. We're like, how did this happen?
Right.
I'm like, what's going on in terms of what's the projection and the message that they're subliminally or even outwardly trying to say about us?
Yeah, I mean, you see the narrative as it pertains to that, and again, I have gay family members, I don't judge what grown people do is what they do, but even when you start seeing, my problem with that in terms of that narrative is the fact that you send the wrong message to kids, because if you had I'm seeing commercials with 2 men, that are obviously a couple. This is like commercials on regular TV. And it's becoming, even in TV shows, you watch The Chi, you watch Power, it's always this through line of this negative. And guess what? I understand the representation. Everybody wants to be represented. I understand that. But we don't gotta like see it, and it don't gotta be like that, like you forcing it in front of us, And my issue is when you have kids that say you got a single mom with sons, or with a son that, hell, that son may be asexual or ain't even thinking about it at 7, 8 years old. But guess what? He sees that, and he constantly sees that. And he says, well, damn, I want to be like that. You know what I mean? He didn't even get a chance to make a choice because it's force fed to him. It's in his psyche. It's put in his spirit, So to be honest with you, that's my problem with it, But other than that, people can do what they want to do. But listen, we just in a time where you have to protect yourself, man, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. You just kind of have to have your armor on, you know what I mean, and block out a lot of this, bullshit, because and this is why people will be like, oh man, you're an old nigga. I'm like, listen, man, decency and common sense, there's no age on that. You know what I'm saying? So, just having some couth and having some respect and understanding time and place. I'm not saying you can't do what you want to do, but there's a time and place for that. And that seems to be lost. You know what I'm saying? I ain't saying you can't do, man, listen, do what you want to do. Your choices, you have to make your bed. If you want to do coke, if you want to do whatever you want, whatever, it's a time and place to do that. Go do it in the privacy or whatever you do. But, social media is not the place to do, and we don't need to be in your family chat with your family problems. Like when I was seeing the stuff with Monique and her family and her son, I'm like, so y'all don't got each other's number? Like, I wish I would be, on social media going at it publicly with my family when I can pull up on you or call you. Hey, it ain't nobody's business.
Hey,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. And one thing I want to shoot to you too, because we know you're probably about to bounce a little bit. But
yeah.
I remember you actually went viral a couple months ago because you said what you said about the Cat Williams issue. Like everybody was pretty much egging it on. You had a different take on it, saying that at the end of the day, Kevin Hart is winning because the numbers don't lie. And you had people actually coming at you. I'm like, dang, man. I did. Yeah. How they coming for court, man? He one of the most solid guys on media. You mean, I'm like, if they coming for court, then we ain't safe at all.
Yeah. I stand on it, and I say what I mean. I mean what I say. And Cat, I know Cat. Me and Cat were close at the time. You know what I'm saying? Cat is a good dude, big heart. Good dude. Now he may have his little issues or had his little issues, but mostly a good guy. I don't even know Kevin. I don't know Kevin personally like that, but what I didn't hear in his interview, he said some truths, but at the same time, what I didn't hear is any accountability. You know what I mean? It was always everybody else. But I never heard, well, you know what? I went through my thing. My career got a little derailed because I had to deal with some issues and get my shit together. And that's the part that I take umbrage with. It's just the lack of accountability, especially being that I know him. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, Kevin wasn't lying. You were set up to be that guy. You were definitely supposed to be where he is. But now I'm not going to go so far to say that he chose drugs, because the time I spent around Cat, I never seen him do anything but weed. That's not to say that he wasn't or he was, right? But I do know that he had some mental challenges, some chemical imbalances or whatever that he needed to address. And but nevertheless, the talent was there. And that, I believe that's what sidetracked him. But he just didn't keep it real about that. You know what I'm saying? And when you talk about the business, right? So when he talked about the business, I'm like, okay, at the end of the day, I mean, Kevin Hart's still up. I mean, true enough, you may be the people's champ. And I understand that people love to subscribe to these conspiracy theories. They love,
and that's why they loved it, because they're trying to put out everything that they have suspicions about. Right.
Exactly. And to me, that's bullshit, because what that does is, to me, that and this is, and I'm glad we're talking about this, because this is what I learned about our culture too, right? We always have to try to equivocate, and we have to rationalize why. So just like with me, right? I worked out. People don't realize I've been working out for about 15 years, right? So that's years of training, years of diet, years of consistency. So when people see me, again, what they do is they project their own shortcomings and lack of discipline. So they figure, you know what, he got to be on steroids, because I can't see myself doing that work. So it's easier for them to, to quantify it in their head and accept that he couldn't just have been consistent for 10 plus years and eat and train. It has to be a cheat code. So it's the same thing with success. They can't see themselves taking the risk and being uncomfortable and putting in the work and being consistent and being told no a million times till you just finally got told yes that one time, and now your life has changed, and now they think it's a cheat code in some way. No, it's not. The sacrifice, it's not no people, ain't no fucking animals or no rituals. No, the sacrifice is, living your life uncomfortable, chasing your dream. Like Byron Allen, I love his story that he told when he said that, hey man, my house went into foreclosure 9-10 times. You know why? Because shit, I had to pay. I had editors to pay. I had to get this content done for this show. So yeah, so my shit went into foreclosure so many times that the bank, I got cool with the lady at the bank, and she told me, hey, listen, make sure it don't get past this day. Once it gets to my desk, it's a problem. So he learned how, but again, that was the sacrifice that he made, and so when people aren't willing, they know they're not going to do it. They know that I'm not going to be broke chasing a career for 10 years and living couch to couch and bummy and not really having my shit together and believing in something that I can't see. So I know you ain't do it. I know you know what I mean? So I know it had to be somebody that did something, or you had to bend over, or you had to kill somebody. You see, and I think that does the culture a disservice too, because who want to shoot, who want to aim high now? Because now it removes the whole thing of you can do it, because now it's like, nah, I'm gonna stay regular because I ain't gonna sell my soul. Well, what does that mean? I don't know, but I know they did it to be successful. Oh, okay.
And it's funny thing, and it comes from people. And the funny thing is, it comes from people that never even been to a music meeting. Like we've been to music, we've been to a boardroom, and I'm like, usually when you go to a boardroom, these guys just talk numbers. They ask you what your figure is, what your ballpark figure is. They usually sit you down. They show you like a graph on what we're going to look at for the week and production costs and stuff like that. The way these niggas talking, you thinking you're going to see goat heads, you're going to see witches.
And listen, I mean, of course, like, do people get proposition? Of course, that happens in any industry, right? I mean, a motherfucker that worked for Ford could be on the line and fuck the shift manager, and before you know it, they assistant manager. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that can happen in any, but at any rate, it still comes back to relationships. You know what I mean? So, but is it this thing where it's like, well, you know what? In order for people to make it to this level, you got to do A, B, C, and D, and then we'll accept. Nah, man. You know what I mean? Nah. Because guess what? At P's height, he was 600 million. So trust me, we ain't never seen no weird shit. We laugh about it all the time. I'm like, damn, P, why ain't nobody ever try to come recruit us for the motherfucking Illuminati? Like, where the fuck you sign up at? Like, what you got to do? You know what I'm saying? Like, the people that's really in the business looking like, well, where are they at? Like, you know what I'm saying? Weirdo shit is weirdo shit. You know what I'm? That's it. You got gangbangers that's weird. You got regular couples that do weird shit, that go to sex parties and do a bunch of weird. That's not just relegated to entertainment. People are weird, people get into different shit. But when you try to equate, I think when you try to make success a bad thing, in our culture, I get so tired of that. Instead of just saying, hey, man, he did it, I could do it too, and be inspired by it and say, damn, let me try to learn something. Let me try to find my way, and get something from that. We always got to try to tear it down and trivialize it,
And we can say this on air only because it's out there. But I want to make this point too, because as Black people, we have a right to be suspicious and cynical of what goes on out there because of our history, what we've dealt with.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
But by the same token, we get so out there because everybody loves a good drama story. But the thing is, nobody wants to fact check and intellectually make sure that it is sound or whatever.
Right.
Just like what everybody's saying about Puff. I mean, we
Right.
saw the video, but we've heard this stuff about Puff for years. That's why I tell everybody,
that's okay.
this was just a situation where we actually saw the proof. But
Yeah.
we've heard stories about Puff for years in terms of things that were going on. And it wasn't even somebody had to, say something. I'm like, we saw Puff do some crazy stuff out there
Right.
in terms of how he
Right.
got it, which would give credence. Hell, he's even said it before that he can be
Yeah.
difficult to deal with.
Right.
So this is, but they're saying, man, but they're coming for successful Black men. I'm like, okay, how about some fucking accountability for the fact that he should have been beating Cassie with his hands and feet in a damn. Let's start there first.
Yeah.
Then said he didn't do it when, we could get the plug pulled. When they settled out of court, I'm going to just say this. When they went from the 15 hours within that 15-hour window back in November, December, when the whole thing came up where Cassie filed the suit, and then it went into a settlement after saying, we're going to fight it, I'm like, something's up. But I was like, we're probably never going to know what it was.
Mm-hmm.
But then this came out months later. So I'm like, but it's like, but I just said that to say that there's stuff that goes on behind. It's not every time a Black man or woman gets taken down because of some nefarious and clandestine entity of secrecy that is dedicated to destruction of Black people. No, sometimes people do shit they just shouldn't do.
No, that's a fact.
You don't have to be Nino Brown.
I believe both things. I believe two things can be true at the same time. You know what I mean? I believe that. Do I believe that there can? Yeah, the timing of it is a little suspicious.
Understood. Absolutely.
But it's one of those things where we give them the shovel to bury us with. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, nigga, he's not the first bisexual, deviant, abusive, egotistical, fucking, billionaire. But he's all of that and add the billionaire. Because this is what you got to understand too. Sometimes it's not always racism. Sometimes it's placism too. You didn't stay in your place.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So when you try to buck the system, it's like, okay.
And then when he tried to sue that liquor company.
Exactly. So when you talk about somebody trying to do that and then also trying to buy the Panthers, it's like you doing too much, boy. You know what I mean? So when you piss off the wrong people, then listen. Nobody's perfect. We all have chapters in our lives we don't want read out loud. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, they find that wretched shit. Like, okay, you don't want to chill? All right, well, we're going to sit you down. Because we understand how this goes with public opinion. And we understand that brands are going to walk away from you. So, no, do I think that it was just some conspiracy to say, we're going to lie on him and we're going to tear him down? No, I think they just find your dirt. And when you get out of line, it's like, okay.
Gonna put you back in.
Play? Well, here you go.
Yes,
So yeah, it definitely should be held accountable. Definitely there should be some accountability. Listen, even with myself, I've had people tell me, hey, you should get into politics, start in your local hometown and go for city council. I've had people urge me to do that. And I say, man, the people gonna rip me apart, because guess what? When we in our teenage years, our 20s, we don't know what we're going to be. We don't know what we're going to, grow to. So I said some crazy shit on record. I had a butt-naked woman holding a machine gun on the inside of my first cover. I had a chick on a chain on my album cover in '97. You know,
We need to see these covers.
Man, listen,
Pen and pixels, right?
I'm 19, 20, 21 years old. You know what I'm saying? So I know for a fact that, you know, they'll be like, oh, look what he was doing. But the fact of the matter is, man, I was a 21-year-old kid that was an artist. Yeah, you know, I'm trying to find. I'm doing my you know, basically what they would do in social media now. You know, that was my version of, okay, I'm gonna get folks talking. You know what I'm saying? But they, and guess what? They would paint the picture that, oh, look, he's misogynistic. He this, but the reality of it is, I've been with the same woman since I was 15 years old. When I put that out, I was married. All my kids are by my wife. I don't have any outside kids. Now that's the reality of it. But that's not what they'll highlight. They'll highlight, yeah, but you said this on tape. You had the bitch on the chain. You know, you talked about doing this. And then we heard that you shot this nigga, shot at that nigga, and woo, woo, woo. But you see. So I'm just saying all that to say, you know, now imagine me becoming a billionaire and throwing my weight around, you know. And it's really, and I'm gonna tell you the other dark side of it that people have to be careful about, especially with cancel culture, because what we are doing again, I'm not admonishing anybody of anything, right? But everything is it shouldn't be a disreputable moment, because what we're setting up, we're trying to hold social media and just the people in general, humans, we're trying to hold people to a standard that we can't hold ourselves to. Because now we're starting to set this standard of perfection. And the truth of the matter is that shit can happen to any of us. Listen, you start throwing a little bit of money around, you know what I'm saying? You'll start finding out shit about everybody. It's just that they just not famous, you know what I mean? So the same people that are running these sites and saying, oh, yes, you know, such and such needs to be punished. And yeah, we need to, okay, how old are you? You 50-something years old? Okay, now I know you haven't done this thing right all the way through. Let's throw some money around, start looking in your shit. You know what I'm saying? Now, you may not have done what he did, but you've done your share of whatever it was. You know what I'm saying? And just by design, you've made some mistakes. So let's take it back to your 20s and your 30s. Oh, okay, you got a divorce. You've been divorced how many times? 4 times? Oh, shit. And you cheated on 3 of them motherfuckers, huh? Okay, well, let's talk about it. Oh, this child is not, oh, that was outside your marriage? Yeah, oh, yeah, you see what I'm saying? And you see how that narrative could be created to try to erase all of what you're doing now. You know what I mean? But it was just you. So we got to be really careful with creating this thing of perfection, of everything is disreputable. You know, even with Will Smith, I was like, okay, nah, he shouldn't have hit dude, you know, but you mean to tell me this nigga been dancing and smiling for y'all for 30-something years, and he had a lapse in judgment, and so everything's supposed to walk away from him. He can't be human. He cannot have a human moment and fuck up and be like, oops, I fucked up. Damn, I knew I shouldn't have did that. You know, so nobody else has ever lost all the people that walked away from you. I ain't never lost your temper, because I guarantee if we start looking into your shit, you know, you done probably beat your kids. You done probably beat an ex-wife or 2, a boyfriend, a girl, you know, all kind of crazy shit.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah, they feel, yeah, you know, I want to leave this on that note, because I think we live at a time today where you have people that can have a voice but don't have to go outside and make their voice heard.
That's right.
That's where basically we live in an era where we, as my man Yuckmouth would say, we revenging the nerds out here, man. It's like the nerds out here now are the shot callers now, because, you know, cancel culture is their get back, because, you know, we took their girls in high school. We was more athletic than them.
Exactly.
We were better looking than them. We was picked first on the football team, basketball team. Right. We was the best in music. So now they got a space. They got a haven behind this digital space now, and that's why they were hoping that the podcast wave jump off. So now they kicking us cool people in the ass.
For sure. Yeah, but even if you look at academics, you know what I mean? He's somebody who, you know, has made a living off of, you know, everybody's bullshit, trauma, and misfortune, and you hear what he dealing with his own shit. You look at Wendy Williams, same way. You know what I'm saying? So And I think it's just to say, man, listen, all of us are living in some sort of glass house. None of us should be throwing of human nature. The Bible even says that, that he was not saying cast the first stone. You may have not done what Puffy done. You may have not done what this person done. But guess what? You have your level of shortcomings. You know what I'm saying? You've had your fails, whether you even if you cussed your wife out, even if you cussed a sibling out, even if you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I think we just got to be careful with that, And again, there are some things that not say, it's not for us. I mean, that's God, but that you can say, okay, damn, you was wrong for that, nigga. There was no reason why you should have been fucking with a kid. Yes, you're dead ass wrong. You know what I mean? That is, yes, that's dead ass wrong. And, I don't know if you need to be forgiven for that. You know what I'm saying? But as far as just regular, yeah, man, motherfuckers got to chill on putting that unrealistic thing of perfection that everybody's supposed to have this squeaky clean, fucking life. No, man, right. People fuck up all the time.
Right.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, man, we'll have that discussion another day about the industry.
Yeah, we'll set that up for part 3, man. We'll set that up for part 3 down the line, because I think we covered a lot in these 2 hours, bro. But we thank you for joining us, man. You have any shout-outs you want to give?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it, fellas.
Definitely, man. And however you want to do it, if you want to invite us on your show, we'd be happy to return the favor.
Oh yeah, for sure. And where y'all at again?
I'm in Hampton Roads, Virginia, and King.
I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Okay, yo. So y'all on the East Coast? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, right on, man. Listen, I appreciate you guys, man. This was a dope ass conversation. I hope the listeners get something from it. You know what I mean? Y'all let me know whatever y'all put out there, how I can send, my people to hear it, and let me know when it's up or whatever. I'll post it. And so, yeah, man. Anytime y'all come out on the West Coast, give me a heads up and let me know, brother.
All right.
Absolutely. Court, thank you so much again.
Yeah, appreciate y'all, man. Just keep me posted.
All right, yo. Y'all be safe.
All right on. Yep.
King, take us out of here.
On that note, we up out of here. Catch us on another time next week. And Blog Talk, get y'all mind right. And give me my money.
We out. Peace.